Gather around, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the fire. My name is Ben.
And I'm Jillian.
We'd like to welcome you to our very first episode. We're very excited to share some stories with you tonight.
And I'm very excited to be drinking a beer on this lovely Friday evening.
I also am drinking a beer.
Cheers,
Cheers.
Ben.
I'm not sure how many of our listeners are either in their cars, maybe on their way to work.
Please don't be drinking and driving.
Don't drink and drive.
Especially in the morning.
I don't think drinking in your car is allowed anywhere. I don't think that's allowed. I've always wondered if you were a passenger in a car, if you could be drinking, but I don't believe that's legal anywhere.
It's not.
No. It's very peculiar.
But this is not a podcast about what you can and cannot do.
This is not a legal podcast. There are plenty of those.
Exactly, and we are no experts, but I can tell you what we are passionate about. Like many of you out there, we love the weird, the paranormal, the urban legend, true crime.
I just want to say something.
Yeah.
I dislike the term paranormal for a couple of reasons. I think it's been tainted. Like paranormal, it like people hear it and they're like, ugh, they look at you funny. They look at you like you smell weird, you know? I think, but you know what I mean. Like, we're interested, and I'll say loosely, like, you know, the afterlife. What happens? Are there ghosts? I think that's difficult to answer, but people have stories.
And people have lots of stories.
And also UFOs.
UFOs.
I mean, what else is there?
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Animals, chupacabra.
Yeah, we've all seen the specials on the History Channel, which is becoming absolute trash.
Yeah, it really is.
Anyway, another reason I think we wanted to start this podcast, I'll speak for you here. We looked around online. We stumbled across a wonderful series of people sharing stories called Campfire Tales on a podcast called Snap Judgment. The host is Leonard Washington. He does an amazing job.
Oh, he's so fantastic.
Even the non-Campfire Tale stuff, they only do it once a year around Halloween. All the content is great. It's a great storytelling podcast. But we wanted more of that.
Oh, we were like itching
We
for
wanted to
more.
find a podcast that was exclusively content like that. And we found a lot. There are a lot out there, but I mean, I couldn't get into it's hard to sift through all of it to get some great stuff, you know?
Right. And I think too there's a difference between hearing a story told by somebody who had an experience and then listening to a story as if it's a production.
Yeah.
Like the wonderful thing about Campfire Tales is they reel you into the story. It's almost like you feel like you're there with the people, and there's such emotion and in a real quality to it where it's not very hokey. It seems real.
Yeah, it can become so personal as you're sitting around a fire, and all you can do is bring your own experiences and your own environment to craft the story in your mind. When you hear somebody say they're in a car driving down a road, everybody pictures that differently. I mean, you could be picturing yourself in a 57 Chevy. I mean, everyone's different.
Right. No, and that's a good point too. But obviously, this is our first episode. We don't have any listeners yet, so we don't have any listener stories to share tonight, Ben. I don't know about you, but I have a favorite urban legend I'd like to share. I don't know if you have any stories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everyone's heard urban legends. I've got a ton of them.
What's your favorite one?
My favorite urban legend.
Your favorite urban legend.
That is a tough one. I don't want to spoil it. I think it's one I'm going to tell.
All right, well, wait. Let me tell mine first.
Okay.
Yeah, this is probably one that everybody's heard. I know there's a couple of varieties or a couple of variations.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's begin. Late one summer evening, as the sun was beginning to set, Donna and Mike were cruising the town, wrapping up their date night. Mike suggested they visit the wooded area near the edge of town, an area where local teens would go, park with their dates, and then take them home. Slowly rolling down the dirt road, excitement filled the air as they approached a clearing in the trees. They parked the car and searched the radio for any music to help set the mood. Startled by a loud noise, Donna turned down the radio. "Mike, what was that?" "What? I didn't hear anything." They sat still for just a few seconds, and then the sound got louder. "Okay, we have to go," Donna demanded. But calmly, Mike reassures her. "Stay here, I'll go take a look. Relax, it's probably nothing." But Donna pleaded, "Mike, please don't leave me in the car alone. Let's just go home, it's late." "Donna, it's nothing, I'll be right back." And Mike disappeared into the darkness outside the car. Donna, now scared and alone, turned up the volume of the radio to help keep her occupied.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program with an urgent announcement from the state police. Earlier this evening, a deranged criminal escaped from Pleasant View Sanitarium. It is unknown whether or not he is armed, but he does have a hook in place of his right hand and should be considered extremely dangerous. Please contact the authorities immediately if you have any information. We'll now return you to your regularly scheduled broadcast.
Donna's skin began to crawl. She tried thinking of anything to keep the killer off of her mind, but she was so worried about Mike. Almost 10 minutes have passed since he left to investigate that noise in the woods. Not soon after the music returned, Donna was startled by a scratching noise moving across the roof of the car. "That's his hook." Paralyzed with fear, she sat silently staring out the passenger side window, just waiting for a hook-wielding maniac to appear. But minutes passed, and the woods had returned to silence. Trying to stay calm, Donna reassured herself that noise could have been anything. But with even more time passed now, she was growing more and more worried about Mike. It had gotten so dark, Donna could no longer make sense of where the road stopped and the woods began. She worked up the courage to take a quick look outside of the car and call out for Mike. At first, she cracked the door open slightly. "Mike," she said softly, but no response. "Mike!" she shouted with a little more confidence, but still no response. Donna was getting anxious, and she finally worked up enough courage to get out of the car to look for him. But after a few minutes of walking around and calling his name, she went back inside the car to wait. So she stopped and she turned around, and now, facing the parked car, she could barely make out a large figure just above the vehicle. And before she knew what she was looking at, she screamed and she ran as fast as she could toward town. Donna arrived back at the clearing with the local sheriff less than an hour later, only to see Mike's body hanging upside down from the tree next to their car, blood dripping from his face and his neck, with his class ring barely scraping the roof of the car as his lifeless body swayed in the wind. What do you think?
That was really good.
So you said you've heard an urban legend like this before. How old were you when you heard it?
I don't know, probably young. Definitely heard it at the fire.
Camping.
Yeah.
Who told it to you? Do you remember?
Went camping with cousins a lot. Could have been an older cousin or my dad, you know. Like,
Yeah. So, did it deter you from going out into the woods and parking? You were a little
I mean, it
older?
doesn't sound like a good idea, just in general, right?
Why?
I don't think it's a good idea just to go somewhere secluded in your car. Like, I did a little research, I'll admit. There were some murders in the 40s that happened. Was it in Texas? It was a place called Texarkana. They call them the Texarkana Moonlight Murders. There's that movie, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. They remade it in 2014. So it's about this guy that walks up to couples in their car. He's got a gun, and he just fucking kills them. He just shoots them.
Like just point blank?
Right. And so this happens in the 40s. There are, I don't know, I guess I've seen some folklore books that were published in the 60s. And so I don't know, maybe there was like, that's when urban legends got cool. I don't know, all the hippies telling each other fucked up stories. I don't know. Like these tales circulate, and you know how it is, word of mouth. Tales modulate. And
So...
I've actually got a problem with the hook.
What?
I've got a few problems. Why does he have a hook? I think that's a stupid...
I don't think we need to go into that. Do you want to?
I think it's stupid that he's got a hook.
Okay,
He's
Benjamin.
like scratching on shit.
No. Here's why he has a hook. Because one version of the story, the kids hear the radio station. The girl's like, "Oh no, let's go home. I don't want to see a man with a hook in the woods." And like a good man, he doesn't abandon her. He drives her home, and he's chivalrous, and they're in the driveway, and he gets out of his car, and he goes to open the door for his date,
Yes.
and there's a hook. That is the purpose of the hook.
I've heard that version. Yes, you're correct. I've
Thank
forgotten about that version. Yes.
I think my version's better,
the hook,
but...
yes, I think, and that's more closely than like most of the versions I've heard. It's very like a very dramatic ending. Like there's that confusion in the middle, the rise, the panic. Like you don't know what's going on. It's one thing, but it turns out it was another thing, you know. But yeah, that version's good too. I just think it ends too quickly. So how's it go? The chick's like, let's bail, and the dude's like, no, come on, let's, you know,
Chicks and dudes.
waka chugga. Yeah, and so then the guy says, no, baby, come on, let's stay.
No, he doesn't say that because he's a good person.
No, he doesn't say that. He's like, all right, let's jet.
You know, if
let's
I was
jet.
going to tell it that way, yeah,
Yeah.
he would respect her wishes.
All right, yeah, all right. I respect that. And her wishes.
Good, you should.
Yeah. We all should. That'd be a lesson.
We should
At the
really,
fire.
let's just, exactly. Encourage the Donnas of the world, support them,
Yes.
uplift them.
Yes. Donna's inspiring. So I like the hook. I dislike that version. I think the hook's stupid, but I guess I like the hook. Can that make sense? You can like stupid shit.
People like
That's
that
a thing.
stupid fucking bunny meme that says,
if
like,
you took the videos on YouTube and sorted them by the most likes, you'd have the dumbest fucking shit at the top 10 of that list, I bet.
what's your favorite dumb YouTube video?
Well, most of them are cats. So, the hook's necessary in that version of the tale because when they arrive home and he goes to open her door, the hook is there. It's on the car. It's been detached from the maniac's arm. And that's the reason for the hook. But what I don't understand in that version is why he went to open the door with this hook. Tell me that. He's got a
can't even.
He's got one good hand, and he could just. It's open.
Maybe. What if he was hopping the barbed wire fence at the prison he was escaping from, and he gashed it, and he can't.
Maybe both his hands are hooks, and the dude on the radio has just got it wrong.
On that note, I am going to pass the torch to you, Ben. Do you come prepared?
I did come prepared.
You came prepared.
I have a very good story. It's a doozy. It's a doozy. Doozy? Is that an outdated term? I'm stuck in the 50s now.
You're very. I just gave you the most glazed look.
Glazed. Speaking of glazed. Be careful when you go out. Whether you're at the club, the bar, even the bowling alley. Be careful. If you're drinking, especially if you're drinking somewhere unfamiliar, be careful. And it's not necessarily your liver that you have to worry about. An acquaintance of mine told me the story about a friend of his. They were over in Spain and went out bar hopping one night. So this guy was out with his friends, binge drinking, and he managed to pick up a hot local girl, maybe mid-30s. He described her as drop-dead gorgeous. My friend started talking with some other tourists and turned his back, and well, this guy disappeared with his new friend. The last thing they all remember was him acting pretty hammered. They were worried he might get tossed out of the bar for being too smashed. But admittedly, they were pretty gone themselves, and at least he's getting a taste of the local flavors. The craziest thing is what happened later that night. Well, technically, early the next morning, just a few hours later. About 6 in the morning, one of the friends got a call from some random phone number. It was their missing friend. He's calling from a payphone, and he is losing it. This guy is absolutely hysterical, freaking out, panicking, all that. Apparently, he woke up, and he was cold. Real cold. He could barely move from a shooting pain that reached up into his shoulder. Once he snapped out of it, he realized he was sitting in a bathtub, filled with ice. It took him a while to get the strength to stand up, but once he hobbled his way out of the tub, he looked in the mirror, and that's when he saw it. He had a fresh surgical scar on his lower back on the right side. It was still bleeding, and it was hard for him to stand upright. He said there was a note taped to one of the walls by the tub. It said, "We've taken your kidney. Seek medical attention immediately." Fortunately, whoever had done this left his wallet, clothes, everything behind, but he didn't have a car, and he had no clue where he was. His phone was dead, obviously, and I'm actually not sure if he made it out of there. Anyway, like I was saying, be careful out there, especially if you're going to be drinking.
Ouch. I am so queasy. That is disgusting.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Oh, I don't even want to have my kidneys out in a regular hospital. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about what kind of instruments they were using. That's disgusting.
Not good.
No.
Not good.
No. I'm anytime I don't even want to think about like my body being cut into. Yeah. But you don't know if the person who did it even knows what they're doing. Like, right. You are basically a meat packet to harvest organs from to these people.
Or if they even did anything, maybe they just fucking slashed you and sewed you back up and just to fuck with you, threw you in a bathtub of ice. Like, and then this sledge has been around for years. Oh. I think mostly since the 80s. I don't know. I found one news article that was really good. That, like, is Snopes.com a commonly known website? I'm not sure exactly what it is. I just found it in my Google searches.
I've never personally used it. If anybody out there can verify if this is a valid source or if it's fake news.
It seems valid. So the way I like to get my information, there's one indication of a good source, they have references at the bottom. And I can access those references and see what the hell they're talking about.
Perfect.
So that website's really good. They had a bunch of urban legends, stories and shit, and they classify everything as like real, fake, or legend. This one was legend. And I think it was legend, or it was false. It might have been false. It was either false or legend. Because, like, this story, as it currently is bullshit. Like, that doesn't happen. Allegedly. But, like, the World Health Organization and, like, a bunch of other big places have realized it is a problem, like organ trafficking. It happens. It happens. I found an article about this lady that did a bunch of interviews with people that had, like, sold their organs on the black market or whatever. And there was one dude who was a filmmaker. I think his name was Nick Rosen. And he documented the whole thing. Going around, meeting people. He's got footage of him sitting in a coffee shop, haggling a price with a guy over his kidney.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like
and
the direct buyer?
No, not the direct buyer, some broker. It's a middleman. He's just hooking up this guy that wants... His reasoning, he just wants to go to America. He's from Israel. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
He just wants to go to America.
That's so sad.
And so he's like, hey, I don't have a lot of cash, but I can sell my kidney and make a shitload of money.
Oh, what is wrong
And so he
with
finds this guy.
people?
Yeah. And so they hook him up with this guy, and he's got footage of them in the hospital. They got screened out at one hospital because they called them out on their shit. They're like, we don't think you actually know this guy you're giving your kidney to. We're not going to have any part of this. But the other hospital they went to, the other doctor was like, all right, cool. Cut him up. You guys want to do this right now?
Well, I hope that doctor was credible.
Yeah, but this lady, she went around to a bunch of hospitals to present these findings. And in some of the interviews, they named a few doctors, like, just outright. And some people, like, across different people that didn't know each other were naming the same doctors. And so when she presented some of these findings, some of these doctors were in the rooms at the hospitals where she was talking about this shit. And at one hospital, she was walked out. She was asked to leave.
Oh, she totally blew the cover off
like,
that.
There are hospitals that are complicit with the whole thing. But, so, the story has some truth, but nobody's out there, like, drugging people. There were some reports that, like, I think it was in the 80s, like, in South America, kids disappearing and showing up, like, in dumpsters, dead, with their organs ripped out and their eyes removed.
That's not true?
I think it might be true.
Oh, no, it might be true. Oh, this is terrifying.
Yeah, it's really sick and fucked up, but...
Why would you bring this to the table?
It happens. It happens.
Oh, that is so awful.
Like, you do have to be careful, but I don't think you have to worry about waking up in a bathtub of ice. They probably just fucking kill you.
Now that you gave all of our serial killer friends out there an idea.
Hey, we're just at the fire. We're just talking about the stories, the experiences. All right.
You're going to kill somebody anyway. You might as well slice out their kidneys and sell them on the black market.
I did find one story where it was about this guy who reported that someone had stolen his kidney. Come to find out, he actually agreed to sell his kidney, but they gave him less money than they agreed upon, but they already had his kidney, so it's like, what are you going to do? Like, they could have given the guy fucking $20, and he would have had to been like, that ain't a great deal.
Oh, my God. All right. I think I've talked about enough kidneys for today.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel sick.
Let's move on.
I feel sick. I have one more story to share with everybody tonight. One more urban legend. So, the story goes, this girl was in her second or third year of college at Michigan State University, and she was living in some apartments that were pretty far away from campus. Not uncommon for East Lansing. Maybe about a 10 to 15 minute drive one way. One night, pretty late, she's coming home from a practice session, maybe soccer, but this girl's in her car and she turns into a main road and she notices that there's a large pickup truck following very close behind her. She doesn't think much of it since, college kids all drive so responsibly. But when she begins heading toward the outer part of town and the pickup is still nearly tailgating her, she starts to get a little nervous. It gets closer. He's right behind her, uncomfortably close. And he starts flashing his high beams, leaving them on for a few seconds, shutting them off, and then turning them back on for just as long as before. She couldn't figure out exactly what the truck was trying to do, but she was freaked. The guy was following her wherever she was going. Every lane, every turn. The pattern of flashing his brights on and off continued as she pulled into her complex. He was still right behind her, filling her car with light from his high beams. She spun into the parking lot and pulled into a row of cars near her building, where, fortunately, there was a group of people hanging out outside. The pickup stopped right behind her. She ran out of her car, screaming for anyone to call the police, pointing back at the man in the truck. The driver in the pickup swung his door open just as fast and started shouting back, "No, you don't want me! Him!" He pointed at this girl's car, shaking. "There's someone in your back seat!" Almost seconds later, the police arrived as a crowd started to gather. After checking inside the vehicle, sure enough, the officers discovered a man in the back seat of this girl's car, and they found one of those 10-inch hunting knives on him. Apparently, while she was inside at practice, he was able to unlock her car, climb into the back seat, and then lock the car again from the inside, right there in the parking lot. The truck driver explained to the police that he kept seeing a figure with a gigantic knife rise from the floor of her back seat. His first thought was to use his high beams to try to warn the driver, but each time he left his brights on, the crazed man with the knife would sink back down into the floor. I guess the psycho eventually realized that he'd already gotten caught, but he kept trying to go for it, you know? And talk about right place, right time. That girl is either the unluckiest or most lucky person that's out there.
So did your parents really tell you that story when you first started driving?
They told me, actually, no, my mom told me that when I'm pumping gas, I need to make sure that I lock my car because somebody could sneak into the back seat and take me hostage or something.
She's just looking out for you.
To this day, I lock my car every time I get out of it, no matter how far away I'm walking. I always am. I'm like OCD about it. It's pretty bad. Or I shouldn't say like OCD. I'm like obsessive about it. I know that you're one who likes to do research. Have you ever stumbled upon anything regarding this urban legend?
So I did find a little thing.
That's what she said.
Oh. I did find a few things out on the web through my excursion.
Your web excursion?
My web excursion through the search engines.
What'd you
Pumping
find?
the search engines in need of information on these high beams.
What did you find?
Not much.
Do tell.
I found, so I guess it got printed in, I think it was a book in the 60s. A book of folklore. Just tales from around the country. But the people that the compiler of this book heard the story from, they said they'd been hearing it for years. So it's been around for a while. At least since cars have been around.
Right.
Cars were scary. Soon they'll be driving themselves. That's scary.
Have you ever heard of Herbie?
Did Herbie drive itself?
Herbie was a fully loaded vehicle. I don't actually know if that's the tagline.
So what does that mean? Fully loaded makes me think of like shit-faced drunk. Like you just got some drunk fucking car driving around.
All right. How about Christine? Stephen King's Christine.
That's like
That was possessed.
yeah, that's like the car. Whoa.
That's what was that?
Yeah. Look out, everyone.
Ghost in the studio.
There's a scratching on my back.
3 lines.
Anyway, in Christine, the car is the villain, you know? Mm-hmm. In this story, the villain is... I'm not sure. The villain is just...
The man in the back seat.
Yeah. I know that's who the villain is.
Stranger danger.
Yeah, that's pretty much the villain of the urban legend, Just like the unknown danger.
Well, it's to make sure, like, hey, have respect for your vehicle, lock it. If you don't watch out for your stuff, some shit's gonna happen to it.
Be aware of your surroundings at all times.
Oh, yes.
I think that's the moral of all of these stories tonight. Thank you for joining us at the fire tonight. That brings this episode to an end.
I don't know about you, Ben, but I thought episode 1 was a pretty successful show.
I think it was pretty solid. It probably won't turn out to be my very favorite episode.
Oh, I hope not. I hope we get some listener stories, and that just makes my skin crawl. I'm very excited to see what some people decide to share with us.
I'm kind of excited to share my own story.
I'm excited to share my own story too.
We hope you're all excited to share your own stories also.
Yes, submit your stories, www.atthefire.com.
That's correct. Click submit a story at the top of the page.
Because, yeah, Ben, I think this was a pretty good episode. But you know what would make it even better? Listener stories!
Yeah!
Yeah, so submit your stories, please. And if you liked what we did, spread the good word. We'd love to hear from more than just our circle of friends.
Exactly. Well, thanks for listening. We hope to see you next time.
Yeah, join us again.
Adios.
At the fire. Bye.
Adios. What do we say?
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista.
Stop copying everything I say. Come up with your own. Aloha. Oh, I broke you. I'm sorry.
Bye.